So in this video, I'm going to be covering how to install a RP server from start to finish, and I'm going to assume that you don't know anything about an RP server or how to get it set up or how to set up a database or anything like that for matter. If you're here because you want to install a GTA 5 server just to install mods and custom cars and custom pedestrians and just custom clothes and just get on GTA 5 and mess around, then this video is not for you. This video is specifically for an RP server, and I'm going to be using QBcore as a baseline for that. So I think it's important for people to understand what QBcore actually is. A QBcore is an ever-expanding framework for Grand Theft Auto 5. QBcore basically is a baseline for an RP server. It doesn't provide you with everything you need, but it provides you with a good base for your actual server. So if you want an economy, if you want jobs, if you want to have a banking system, if you want to have the survival system, the inventory system where you can buy stuff from a store and then you eat and you gotta drink food and all that crap, and it also has the emote system built into it. So it's got a ton of things already built into it, and it takes out a lot of the actual work when making an RP server. So the main thing that you're going to have to worry about after you install QBcore is customizing the server to fit you. And that is exactly what I want to be going over in this video, but I'm going to assume that you don't know anything about RP servers at all. But there's going to be chapters and timestamps. So if you see some relevant topic within this video, you can skip ahead at any point that you want, and everything is going to be provided in the description below. So in this chapter, I'm going to be covering how to install the QBcore server itself. In order to run a QBcore server, you're going to have to install a MySQL database, and it requires XAMPP and Heidisql. In this case, I already have XAMPP installed. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. And then when you start up XAMPP, you're going to make sure that this right here is started, and it's going to turn green, and basically it's going to show you what port your SQL server is running on. So now I'm just going to stop it, X that out, and if we scroll down here, it also wants you to install Heidisql. So basically what this is for managing your database. So if we just copy the name Heidisql here, we can go and find it on Google, and here it is, and we just click download, and you're going to pick whichever installer applies to you. So this is for 32-bit or 64-bit combined. I'm just going to put it in the same folder with my server and shit. Go to servers. And also, when you go to make a server, you're definitely going to have to make a folder ahead of time. So for right now, I've got a folder made here, and I also made a server folder inside of that folder. So whenever you get ready to make your server, make sure that you make a folder. You don't have to make it ahead of time, but you can make it during the installation process, and it makes things a lot easier on you. So for now, I'm just going to put this setup in here. Then once that gets done downloading, I'm going to show you how to go about installing it, which is pretty simple. And the same thing applies to XAMPP. So you're going to go through the process of installing it along with Heidisql, and you're going to use these to manage your SQL server. So your database, basically, it's going to keep like all of your character names, anything to do with a person's character. Whenever they join your server, it's going to have all that relevant information in it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and install Heidisql. And this is basically just click through everything associated with SQL files, yes. And you can launch it to look at it if you want to. But this is basically what it looks like. And we'll come back to this later. So let's make sure that, I'm going to make sure that XAMPP is not running in the background right now. I'll quit that out. And now when we scroll down here, it's telling you that you need to download the artifact and TXAdmin. So we're just going to click here, and we're just going to click open a new tab, and I'm going to X out Heidisql, and I'm going to download the latest version. So this is the actual latest version here, and I'm going to put it directly inside of this folder, my server folder. And then once that's done, I'm going to right click down here, and I'm going to click show in folder. And if you don't have any kind of 7-zip program or WinZip or WinWire or anything like that, Windows has a built-in extractor, so you should be able to still click on this file and extract the files into this folder. But basically what we're going to be doing is opening this folder. Then we're going to highlight everything and drag it directly out into your server folder. Now that we've done that, we can delete this. We don't need it anymore. We also want to make sure that that's X'd out before you do that, and then bam. So now moving on, it wants us to double click FX server executable. So we're going to double click it. Okay, so now it's working. And automatically it's going to give you an append. It says no CFX account linked. X this out, and now we're going to link account. Authorize TXAdmin. I'm just going to click continue. Now I'm going to create a simple password. Just for demonstration purposes, but if you make your own password, make sure that you make it strong enough that somebody can't just guess it. And we'll say I agree. And it says it's not even long enough, so let's do it. Let's do a better password. That way that he'll be satisfied. Then create master account. And I'm gonna go ahead and just update password, whatever. For some reason it logged me out. That's okay. And now we're at this next screen here for the TXAdmin, and it basically tells you you're gonna click popular template. So this can be anything. So I'm just going to put Discord. And popular recipes. And then I'm going to click QBcore framework. And you want to take note of this. It's telling you where it's going to save your profile. And yeah, it's right where I want it to be. I'm going to click save. And you are almost there. So now I'm going to go to recipe deployer. Scroll down here. This is basically telling you the profile that it's set up for you. That's what it looks like. And then next. Now you're going to have to generate a license key. And basically you're going to click down here where it says key master, and you're going to open a new tab. And it says I already have 3 of 3 active servers right now, so I'm just going to use one of my keys for the test server. So I'm just going to click on it, and I'm going to copy it. But if you just now create a new account with CFX, then you're going to have to make a new server. So you'll go here and you'll just click new server, and you just fill in all of the relevant information. So it'll be your display name. Basically, that's for your own purposes. Basically, it has nothing to do with the name that your server is going to be whenever it gets listed on the server list. Your IP. which is basically, it says use your public IP if home hosting. So all you gotta do to get your public IP is go to Google and then just type in what's my IP, and then click on like the first 1 or 2 search results, and it'll tell you what your actual public IP address is, and then you'll copy it and you'll paste it in here, and then you're just going to pick other home hosted, and it's going to say which server provider are you using, and you're just going to put home, and then you're going to click I'm not a robot, and then you're going to click generate, and it'll bring you to a new window basically like this, and it's going to have all your servers, and it's going to show what your key is, and basically you're just going to click on your server and then copy your key. It's that simple. And once you get that done, you can X that tab out and then paste your key in there and click run recipe. So now it's saying refuse. So basically if it gives you that error, it's because you're not running TXAdmin right now. So I'm going to start TXAdmin back up, and I'm going to start the SQL server, and I'm just going to lower that window, and I'm going to try again. So now it has it, and we're just going to wait for this to get done, and once it gets done, I'm going to get right back with you. Okay, now that it's done, just click next, and it's going to show you what your server config is going to look like. And basically at the top here, it's telling you the endpoint DP, or the endpoint TCP, and the endpoint UDP. So it's telling you the port number that your server is going to be using. And here, max client, what that means is how many people will be able to connect to your servers. So we're just going to click save and run server, and you can see it's loading up all the assets right now for QBcore. We scroll down here, you can see everything that it's doing. Start resource chat, and then if you also want to view it on your computer, here's the console running on your computer. And when it's saying yarn, that's basically another thing that's running in the background. It's actually generating a cache for all these files. So here's where your cache location is. Resources. So that's basically it. Once your server gets done loading everything, we can test and make sure that we can actually connect to it. So I'm just going to load up FiveM. I'm just going to connect to my server here, local. So we're inside of the game, just give it a minute. It's going to take you to the default spawning location. And just going to click on the empty slot and click create character. And I'm just going to name my first name Ray, last name Carter. Nationality, I'm just going to pick anything, I don't care. And just click create character. And we're just going to go to Fantastic Plaza. Fantastic, whatever it's called. I know I butchered it. Now when you make your initial character, you can either customize the model, player model, however you want, and the default player model is MP_M_freemode_1. But if you want to change your model, you just click this. I'm just going to pick a random pedestrian. Doesn't have to be anything special, and I'm just going to confirm that. And you can see you start off in your default apartment. Just going to leave the apartment here. And as far as we can tell, everything's working correctly. We can see that we have an inventory menu, we've got a driver's license, we've got an ID card, all that good stuff. So now you want to be able to give yourself admin. So I'm going to go over that. Because as of right now, you don't really have admin, you don't have anything. So you got to set up all that stuff. So We'll be right back for the next chapter, and I'm going to be teaching you how to set up admin and get everything going, customized and all that good stuff. Okay, so now that you have your server up and running, there's a few things you're going to have to look at to configure your server to be the way you want it. So the first thing that I would look at is this bat file here. If you right click it, and if you're on Windows 11 or whatever, you're going to have to click show more options and then edit. And what this basically is telling you is it's going to start your server from the location here, and it's going to set the profile to default. So if you want to figure out where that profile is, you're going to click on TX data and then default, and then you're going to look into config here, and it's going to tell you what you initially selected for your server name. So if you want to change that, I'm just going to change it to Raise RP. You set your language menu enabled. Basically what that means is if TXAdmin menu is going to be enabled, and it tells you where it will be aligned at on your screen. So if you want it aligned on the right, whenever you open it up, that's what's going to happen. And then the page key is basically the switch between pages on the menu for TXAdmin. You can set a restart schedule. An auto logger, you have the player database, which will check if a player has been banned from FiveM, and you can enable a whitelist if you so choose to, and you can have it to where only people with a certain role inside of your Discord server will actually be able to join your server. And the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. If you wanted to set up a bot for your Discord server, you can enable it, and also the auto start true, which will automatically start your server whenever you launch this profile. So I'm just going to save that, and pretty much everything is already set up the way I want it. X that out, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to click on this file here, admins.json. And basically this is going to have a list of all of your TX admins, and it automatically sets you up as a admin if you did everything properly when you were installing QBcore. It should have automatically registered your CFX ID, and this is your identifier code. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to put this in your server configuration file, and you're automatically going to be set up as an admin. But I'm just telling you where to find this information at, just in case it's not in your server configuration file, and then we're going to move on to that. So let's X this out, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into TX data QB framework. And here is where your logo is saved at. And if you notice, it's a specific size. So it's 96 by 96 pixels. You want to keep it that size if you want it to show up on the actual server list when people are looking for your server. If you want your logo to show up there, you want to try and keep it this minimum size here. And if you make it too big, it's not going to show up. So you go to edit it, and let's say, usually I use Photoshop to edit everything, but you can use any kind of program. You could use Paint, whatever you have access to. There's free programs too that you can download for editing pictures. And if you want to change your logo, basically what I would do is I would just create a new layer and turn this one off, and then say you wanted to create a specific type of logo with just your letter in it, or initials for your server or whatever. I'll just make a little circle like this, and then I'm just going to make something really basic, right? So say, you know, you just want to make something really basic, and that's exactly what I did. I just made something really basic to start out with. Let's say this is what you wanted, you know, it's just a basic logo. And I mean, if you're in Photoshop, you can do like blending options. You can do like a drop shadow. You could do like a outer glow, inner glow, all kinds of neat little stuff to make it look pretty or whatever. And let's click on this, and then we can do some blending options, and then do like an inner shadow. And there we go. We got a basic little logo here, and then we're just going to export it. And we'll go export as. You can see there's what's going to be the size of it once it's exported. And then we'll click export. And then we'll go back to our server folder. QBcore RP. And we're going to go into the text data folder here, and then just click my logo, PNG, and then we're just going to save and replace. So now I'm just going to exit this out. And now you can see that we have a different logo now. Pretty simple. Also, this is the main gist of it. We're going to look in here in your server config. I'll scroll down and cover these options here. Your max client is the max amount of people that will be able to connect to your server. And I would make sure that you do not go over what your computer can handle. So by default, like if you're just doing like a private server, I would keep this at like 10 or maybe 15. I wouldn't go much higher than that unless you've got a really beefy system and a really good internet connection. Also, it's going to have your license key here. This is from the master, the key master that you generated. And for your host name, you're going to want to put the description of your server. Not the description, but the actual name of your server. So I'm just going to put Raise RP, and project name, you can just keep it Raise RP. I'm just going to put Raise RP. And you could delete that too if you wanted to, if you didn't want QB framework in there. But your description is going to basically describe what type of server that you have. And for now, I'm just going to keep it the way it is. If you want to change this, you can change it to it's fun server light RP or something. Yeah, whatever you want to describe your server as, you can put here in this little line right here. Just make sure you do not delete these quotation marks whenever you do so. This is just setting your actual language. And right here it says where you load your server icon, which is basically this right here, what we just edited and changed. You want to make sure that this is the exact same name as this here, otherwise it will not work. And it also has to include the file extension at the end of it. So you can't just put the name of it without the file extension, otherwise it will not work. Set and force game build. Basically it's set this way for a reason. They automatically included this in your server configuration options. What this actually does is you can actually change this if you want to load like later versions of DLC and stuff like that inside of FiveM. This connection string has to do with your actual database. So your MySQL database, it's basically connecting to the default name and database that you set up previously using XApp. Now with your voice configuration, you can, if you're using like in-game voice for direct chat and stuff like that, you want to keep this set on to true so that people will be able to hear you in-game when you use direct chat inside of the game. This is also default language for QB locale. Basically what the locales are is whenever you have a script added to your game, some scripters will automatically add locales for their scripts, but basically what it does is it picks the language that you have set to default for your script. So if they've added a locale for English inside of their script, it will automatically load that locale so that, you know, if you have a script that has like descriptions on it or words that you're going to have to read whenever something pops up, it's going to automatically put it in English for you. You set use target. This is basically for the QB target system, and this is if you decide to use QB target or not. We get into that later on, but for right now I'm just going to keep it false. And everything that says ensure this, ensure that, ensure map manager, this is basically like where you spawn at by default. Your chat is of course the chat menu that you have in game, so you can chat with people. And spawn manager, and then we got session manager, basic game mode, hard cat basements. This is all just the basic TX server and CFX server stuff. So right down here you have all your QBcore stuff. So ensure QBcore, this is like the main file for QBcore that everything runs off of. And then you've got ensure QB, and QB is going to be here. And if you notice, they've got brackets around them, each of these folders, and it also includes those brackets in the description here. So basically what that does is everything inside of that folder. So you see here it has brackets, QB, brackets, here's brackets, QB, brackets. Everything inside of this folder is going to load automatically. So that's what the server config is telling it to do. It's telling it to load everything that's within this folder. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to work. Like, if you go inside of a resource or a script and it doesn't have this, if it doesn't have the FX manifest file, and you got it inside one of those folders that has the brackets, it's not going to load. It has to have this file right here, because it won't understand that it's a script or a resource if it doesn't have this file. So it's not going to bother with it. Now, suffice to say, some things will load, but if it's a script, like a text file, like all these Lua files, and you don't have this telling it what to load, then it's not going to load that file. So, you know, it's got the ensure voice, the default maps, all that stuff. Everything is kind of set up. The standalone files are actually add-on scripts that's been added to QBcore. They're not made by the QBcore team, but they're made by somebody else, but they were included in the QBcore installation. So BobIPL basically loads like all these interior IPLs that are default to the game. So all these DLC and stuff like that. If you want to be able to go to these if you want to be able to go to them, you have to teleport to them in game. You'll be able to set up teleports for them, and basically it's going to show you here in the Lua config the default teleport locations for all the different locations. So that's pretty handy if you want to set up teleports for all these locations. And let's keep going over the config here. Permissions. This is for if you want to add more admins to your server. And you can see here by default, it adds you as an admin. As soon as you set it up, as long as you set it up right and you were logged into CFX, you will automatically be added as an admin. But I told you before where you'll find this information. And if you need to find this information for someone else, I'm going to go over that in the next chapter. And also, what this does, okay, if you see this, it says add ace resource QBcore. What that does is it's giving that resource admin abilities, so that if that resource needs to access or it needs to execute certain commands, it will have the ability to do so. So anytime you have a resource that's acting up on you because it can't do something, it's because you need to add it here so it has permission to do so. Because if it doesn't have permission to do so, of course it's going to have issues. Inheritance, this is basically setting up your groups for admin, or if you wanted to, you can actually add a new group here and have moderators and stuff like that. So it already has a group for mod and it has a group for admin. But that's basically it. And I'm going to be going over some other things in the next chapter. So okay, so in this chapter I'm going to be going over like basic server commands, how to get into the admin menu, and how to do a couple of different useful things that's going to help you out in game when you're actually trying to configure your server. So I'm going to go ahead and start up the server now. Make sure everything is loading correctly. And it is, seems like, so far. Now another thing is that you can access your TXAdmin from your web browser itself. So if I go up here and I click, see, I believe I have it saved here somewhere. TXAdmin login. And I'm just going to log in through CFX. Continue. And you can see it displays the name of my server that I put, Raise RP. And on here you can see what players are actually inside of your server at the moment, which is no one. I'm going to go ahead and join my server. That way I can kind of show you a few things on the TXAdmin panel. And you can see it's now displaying my logo. I'm going to go ahead and click connect. I'm going to click the character I previously created. Join the game. And I'm just going to click last location. So here I am now inside of the game. And if we look here and refresh the admin panel, it says start players 1. Let's see if it's actually, yep, ready, players saved. And you can look at your server log and it tells you exactly who joined, and it will tell you the player's identifier. This is the license identifier, and this is one of the main ones you want to pay attention to. If you want to add another player to the admin list, you're going to copy this identifier right here. So let's say I wanted to add another player to the admin list. Another way you can get their identifier from here is on the actual player list itself. And then you click on players, and you would click on the player's name, and you would just click IDs. And then you copy the FiveM identifier like so. And then you'll go back to your server configuration, open it up, and scroll down here to where it says permissions, and just paste it. And then you would copy this right here, line of text, copy, paste it in front of it, and you would put the group that you want them to be in. So I want them to be an admin. And then you could just put a label for it. So anytime you put this mark right here in front of something that you've added on here, it's not going to count this as loading in the script. So it's going to actually mark that out, but you can use this to label stuff. So I can say, well, this guy's name is Jake or whatever, and he can be another admin. But that's how you go about doing it if you want to add another player to the admin list. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, because I didn't really want to change that anyways. But now you know how to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and X this out. And we're going to go back into the server, and we're going to start looking at some of the commands that you can do while you're in the server itself. So not only can you find the player's identifier on here, but you can also ban them if you need to, and you can also add them to the TXAdmin list as well if you wanted to. So it does actually give you quite a few things you can do through this little panel here, you want to call it, and you can see all the different resources too that have been loaded in the background for your server. So this lets you know all the different scripts that are running in the background on your server right now. This is come in handy for later when you want to test things out. So it actually gives you access to your actual server config file here too, so you can edit it through here as well. It's basically the same thing that I just showed you. And now we're going to look at the commands in game. So whenever you're in game and you want to open up the admin menu, you're going to type /admin. And now you've got a couple of different things you can look at here. So first I'm going to look at admin options. And if I want to go into no clip mode, I'll just press enter. And now I can fly around the map anywhere I want. And just press enter again to go out of no clip mode. Revive is for if you die for some reason in particular. Let's say you get killed or you kill yourself or somebody kills you or whatever. You can just click this and it will automatically revive you. And one thing I want you to notice is if you hit revive, it will automatically heal you as well. So it automatically heal you, it automatically brings all your food back up and everything too. So if that's something that you needed to do, don't have to worry about your character dying while you're idle or AFK, you just hit revive and it automatically fills everything back up. God mode is pretty self-explanatory. It makes it to where you can't die, you won't take any damage. I wouldn't say it's foolproof, but you know, it helps pretty much in most cases. So if you want to teleport to a group of players that you know are being rowdy and you know they'll probably try to kill you, that's probably pretty useful. Names, basically all it does is enable names overhead so that you can see other players' names in game, but you can also see their ID, which is really useful too. Blimps, this will enable you to be able to see other players' blimps on the map. So whenever you open the map itself, you will be able to see the players' blimps around the map. You'll be able to see where they're actually located in game. Spawning weapons, pretty self-explanatory. It just gives you the weapon that you want. So if you want a special carbine, it says you now have spawned a weapon. So if you want to bring that gun out, so if you want to use the gun, you just click 4 for the slot that it's in, and now you have it, but you have no ammo. So you'll have to give yourself ammo as well, which I'll go over that later. But it's actually a command. You can just give yourself the ammo type for the gun that you're actually using. And let's go back into the admin menu. And we've covered all this. In player management, this is where you can actually see the player's ID, but if you press enter again, you can kill the player. And you can also revive the player from in the menu. You can freeze the player to where they cannot move. You can unfreeze them by pressing enter again. You can spectate them. Now I'm spectating myself, which looks silly, so I'm just gonna press enter. And then you can go to the player. So this basically just teleports yourself to the player. But if you click bring, it brings the player to you. And sit in vehicle, if they're in a vehicle driving, so say you spectate them and they're in a vehicle driving, basically what this does is teleports you inside of their vehicle. You can open their inventory and you can see what's inside of the player's inventory, which is basically my own inventory that I'm looking at right now. And also, let's see, so in order to get out of that menu, just press tab, but give clothing, this basically makes it to where you can edit the player's clothes or change what they're wearing exactly. or change their model. So yeah, I can change my model to a different model, and this will kick the player from the server, and this will ban the player from the server, and this can set permissions. Now, if you want to give the player temporary admin, I don't think this usually gives them permanent admin, because when I used it before, I could give people temporary admin. So if you want to give them temporary admin, you can do that. You just click admin and press enter, or God and press enter, and then confirm. So we'll go ahead and go back out of this, and now we're going to go into server management. This is all pretty self-explanatory. This changes the weather, so if you want it to be foggy, just press enter and it'll change the weather to fog. If you want it to be rainy or just thunderstorm, press enter and it'll change it to a thunderstorm. So you can see it takes a minute for it to take effect, but it works. And back out of that, actually change it back to sunny. And now on vehicles, you can actually spawn yourself a vehicle through this menu. So say you want, I don't know, an off-road car. Give yourself an off-road car. You can fix your vehicle. So if I bang it up a little bit, I can just click fix. It'll automatically fix the damage. And you can buy it, which will add it to your garage itself. And if you remove the vehicle, it automatically deletes it. And you can max out your car mods and all that stuff too, automatically. Dealer list just shows the actual active drug dealers on your server at the time. Developer options, these are going to come in really handy for the later chapters. So you're going to be using a lot of these options to display your coordinates, to get your vector, all that stuff. And when you hit, let's see, when you hit entity view mode, and let's say you go into free aim mode, so anything that you're looking at is going to tell you the information about that object. So this is going to come in handy later when you want to add like stuff to a doors list, if you want to add door locks to these doors. And also you can display vehicles. So if you go up vehicle, turn free aim mode back on. So you can see we got actual information for that. And we can display PEDs, display objects, so it's going to show everything around you, all the information about everything around you. So for now, we're just going to turn this off. Go back out.
Oh, okay.
And display coordinates will actually show your coordinates at the top of the screen. Back out of this. And now we're going to look at some other commands. So most of this we've already covered. Names, all that stuff was all inside of the admin menu, no clip. Admin car, we all know what this is. Announce, so if you want to announce a message across the server, you just type announce, right? And then whatever message you want to announce to the players, just type hello. And it's automatically going to show who announced the message. Okay. Report, you know, it's basic. You can just report the staff member if you feel like somebody's being abusive. So if you're an admin and you want to reply to a user that actually sent out a report, you would just do the same command except with R at the end of it. And report toggle, you know, opt in, opt out. So basically that means that if you're an admin and you don't want to receive reports from other players, you would do report toggle and it would opt you out of receiving reports. and vice versa. Staff chat, that's basically what it is. You can only send messages to other staff on the server, so other admins. Warn, warn if you want to warn a player. Basically, like, so my ID is 1, and you could say trash talking or something like that. I don't know. So I warned myself that I was trash talking, and you can see it popped up on my chat menu here. So scroll down here and look at some of the other ones. So there's what I was talking about, the set ammo command. So if you was to give yourself a weapon and you wanted to set the ammo for that weapon, that's how you'd go about doing it, using that command right here. And I'm going to tell you later on how to find the ammo types and stuff like that too. But for now, we're just going over the commands in this chapter. So vector 2, vector 3, this is all just has to do with your actual location or location of objects, and the vector is actually like the 3D location of the objects inside of the game. So it's like the up, down, left, right, actual physical location of the object on the map. You're going to use that later on when you're editing like your config files for your hospital, your police station, all that different stuff. Heading is just the direction that you're facing. So if you do heading and it copies your heading, it just copies the direction that you're actually facing. So it says copy heading to clipboard, admin only. And I'm gonna show you something that is really useful when it comes to these type of commands like TP or TPM. This is one thing that you're going to want to mark on your actual quick commands. So another thing I want to cover is your actual HUD itself. So in game you can set your HUD options, and all of it's pretty self-explanatory. Show minimap only when in vehicle. If you don't want that, you can uncheck that and it will show your minimap at all times. And you can uncheck this for your compass, so you'll be able to see your compass at all times. And you can see it'll bring up all your HUD elements. But for now, I'm just going to leave them at default. Menu sound effects. You can turn the sound effects on and off, especially like the noise it was making when I was clicking on it. Reset HUD. Sometimes if you have a certain resolution on your computer, you want to be able to reset your HUD every once in a while, because sometimes it does mess up. Sometimes the way to fix that is just to come in here. So all this is pretty self-explanatory. You can turn your health meters on and off so that you don't have to see them anymore. If you want to keep them on, it's up to you. Minimap, all that stuff. So yeah, in order to get out of that, just press escape. So if you want to teleport to another player, you just type TP and then their ID, and it'll automatically teleport you to another player. And TPM, so say you want to teleport to a specific location on the map, you would go into the map and mark a waypoint, and then just type TPM, and it'll automatically take you to where that waypoint is. Toggle PvP, pretty self-explanatory. If you toggle PvP, it enables PvP mode where you can actually fight other players. So you can turn it on and off at any time you want. And add permission is basically the same as giving a player admin privileges. You can give them certain permissions for certain jobs and stuff like that too. And you can also remove their permissions as well. So you would just type in add permissions, then their actual ID number, and then the permission level that you want to give them. Open server is just opens the server up for everybody. So if you have whitelist mod or anything like that turned on, you can just open up the server for everybody to be able to join. Close server closes people without permissions. And let's scroll down here a little bit more. We're gonna get to the nitty gritty stuff. Car, you know, basically you just type in car and you type in the model that you want to spawn. So if you know the model offhand, you can just type it in and then it will automatically spawn it for you. And DV vehicle, that basically just deletes the vehicle that you're sitting inside of. Same thing within the admin menu as well. Give money. This is a big one that I think a lot of people want to know about, is how to give yourself money. So you just type in give money, then your ID, and then the money type will be either cash, bank, or crypto. So let's say I want to give myself cash. Now I'm going to give myself $100,000. And there you go. I automatically have $100,000 now on my person. So, and also the same thing applies to if you want to just put it straight into the bank. You would just type give money and then your ID number and then bank. Now your ID number is not always going to be one. So say you join the server multiple times since it's been up, your ID number might change. So always make sure to check your ID number before you go about trying to give yourself money or something like that, because you might end up giving somebody else money on accident. So set money is basically the same thing, except you're giving it to a specific type of person. So you want to say you want to give money to your buddy, you would just look up his ID number and you would just press 1, and then money type, same, and then amount. And you can see it automatically gave me that. So it's pretty much the same command, except you're just setting the amount of money that they already have. You're not like giving it to them, you're just setting the money that they have in particular. So say you think they got too much money, you could set their money back to a lower amount, or if you think they don't have the right amount of money, you could set their money to the correct amount. So job, if you just do /job, it will show your actual current job right now. So right now I do not have a job. And you can also set your job automatically. So let's say I want to set my job as a cop. So I would just do set job and then police, or no, my ID and then police and then the grade. So I want to be rank 4 as a cop. And then to check and see that it worked, you would just do /job again, and it will show that you're now law enforcement and you are the chief and on duty true. Now gangs, you have to set these up within your server configs, but if you're in a gang, basically it will tell you what your affiliation is and your grade. But you're still going to have to set up your gangs and your gang leaders, which I'll get into in a later chapter. Clear inventory does exactly what it says it does. I mean, it will take everything out of that player's inventory. So let's go down here, and if you see me, if you do /me and then you type shrugs, shoulders, something like that. See, it will put a 3D context around your player, and basically trying to show that you're just pleased with something or whatever emotion you want to convey to somebody. So with the ambulance job, you're going to have all these different commands and shit. So you want to set your job as ambulance, and let's look and make sure So no, that must not be the name for it. Or did I spell it right? Oh, I forgot the M. That's what it was. So now I'm EMS. And if somebody says, for example, they send a 911 call to the ambulance. So I'm gonna click 911E, and I'm gonna type message help me or something, you know. Please. There you go. You're automatically gonna receive that message as EMS. And status. Checks the status of the nearest player. So basically it just tells you what happened to them, how they died, or what kind of injuries they had, what their health is. So if I just do /status, no player nearby, so I can't actually test that right now. And of course heal, pretty self-explanatory, heals the nearest player, will automatically heal their health. It says you need a bandage. So as your EMS, of course, you're going to have a bandage inside of your inventory in order to be able to go around and heal players. And then revive P, revives the nearest player. You're going to have a kit for that as well. You can revive yourself. Of course, I've showed that already. And set pain, you can actually set the pain level to another player. So you just do set pain, and then you'll set their, you'll put their ID or their op, and then the ID of the player. You can kill the player, you can add heal, just a bunch of stuff. Police, pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to change myself back to a cop. Set job, police. So now I want to drop a spike strip. But you can also, there's another way to do it too. You can also click here. If you hold down F1, you've got police actions. And this is how you can jail someone, you can escort people, you can search them, which will open up their inventory. You can check their status, their health status, all that stuff. Objects. So you've got a gate that you can put down, you know, a speed limit sign, spike strips. So here's how you do spike strips. You would just click it and it would put spike strips on the ground, and then you just press E to delete the spike strips. Also, if you wanted to grant a license to another player, that's how you do it. You'd go /grant license, their ID, and then you can type the type of license you want to give them. So let's say weapon, because that's normally what you're going to be giving other players is weapon licenses. They start out with a driver's license, or an ID at least. So now you've been granted a license. Now that player is going to actually be able to go into a, it's not going to show it in their inventory per se, but they're going to be able to go into a gun store and actually buy weapons if they want to. And you can set the level of license that they get as well. You can also revoke a player's license. So if you wanted to take away their license, you just type in revoke, and then you take away their license. So PO object, same thing with the hold the F1 menu. You just go to objects and spawn the object that way. And cuff, basically that's self-explanatory. If you're standing nearby a player and you just type /cuff, it will automatically cuff that player. But since there's no one nearby, that's not going to work. And SC, soft cuff, near player, basically uses soft cuffs on the player. That means they can actually escape from those handcuffs. And also escort, basically, I mean, sometimes it's faster to do the commands rather than just opening up the menu and doing it, but You just type in escort and it'll automatically grab the nearest player. That way you can put them in a vehicle nearby. And I'm just going to go over the rest of these. Jail sends them to jail pretty much. So you'll just type in jail to the nearest player and it will send the nearest player to jail. And unjail, you would type in unjail and then their ID number. And let's say they're not nearby. You know, let's say you wanted to jail them, which I think there's a way to do it without them having to be nearby, but apparently it doesn't work like that. Clear casings. Basically, it just clears all the bullet casings in the area. Because if it's lagging or something like that, you had a big gunfight. Clear blood, just clears all the blood stains in the area. Seize cache, just takes cache from the nearest player. Cam shows officers see cam footage from selected spots. So you have to set up these cameras for the police to be able to look through them. So if you don't have cameras set up in the actual police resource, then the cam ID stuff is not going to work. So you have to have cameras set up, and it may come with some already predefined. Flag plate, that basically allows speed cameras to find plate flags. So if you set up a speed camera on the road and a player drives by with a flag plate, the speed camera will automatically pick it up. Unflagged plate automatically removes that plate from the speed cameras. And let's scroll down here, and basically we got plate info, self-explanatory. It shows you the info of the player's vehicle, whether or not they own it. Depot, and if you allow, it says allows police officer to impound a vehicle for a price. And let's see, impound vehicles without a price, and automatically sends them to the impound. Pay tow ID, pays tow driver 500. Pay lawyer, pays lawyer 500. Anklet adds tracking device to closest player, so the police will be able to track their location. Anklet location. So basically what you do is you just type in the anklet location command, and it would automatically show you the location of the player with a actual anklet on. So you would type that in and their ID. And let's see, driver's license. Takes player's driver's license, of course. Take DNA, takes player's DNA, so you got evidence from the player of their DNA. And all this other stuff is pretty self-explanatory. Driver's license, and if you want to take the driver's license test, give players a license after taking the test. Banking, give cash. Just already went over that. Binds allows you to set custom key binds. So this right here is one thing I wanted to show you. So I'm going to hit binds, and it's going to open up the key binds menu. And one thing you can do that's really handy is type in the command that you want. So let's say you wanted TPM to be bound to F3, right? So we'll type in TPM, which automatically teleports you to a marked location, and we'll save bindings, and we'll just X that out, and then open up the menu, mark the location, then hit F3, and it will automatically teleport us to that location without us having to type in the command every single time. So this also works for give money as well, if you want to do that. So if you want to have a command for give money, just open up binds again, and let's say I want F5 to give me money, or let's say I could have it set to model. I could do whatever the hell I want to do. I could have it set to DV, delete vehicle, or set my job automatically. But the problem with it is that it works better for simple commands. So because your ID is not always going to be the same, you know, every time that you rejoin the server. So you could have it set up to simple commands like heal nearest player, like revive, have all that set up. So if you wanted it set to revive and then save. So now F5 is going to do revive, and it's automatically going to heal me or revive the nearest player, revive yourself. Yeah, revive P revives the nearest player, so you would set revive P to a separate bind. And you can also set kill and all these other simple commands, and cuff as well. So if you're a cop, you can set a lot of the cop commands on the binding menu by default. That way it makes it a lot easier for you to do stuff. You don't have to type in the command every single time you want to issue a command. Let's scroll on down here, and a lot of this other stuff I'm going to cover in separate chapters. But for now, I think that's pretty much the gist of commands, and I'll see you in the next chapter. So in this chapter, I'm going to be talking about how you can add a new type of money to your server, and change your default spawns, and change how much money players will actually spawn with when they start the game initially. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into QBcore framework resources, then go into QB, and then we're going to go to QBcore. And then we're going to open up this file here called config. And then you can see here, this is your default spawn location. This is where your character initially spawns in the game before they spawn in the interior where they're being created. So, I mean, you can choose anywhere for this. This doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, I would pick a spot that doesn't have a lot of objects that has to load in, so that when a player initially spawns, they're not spawning like around a bunch of buildings or stuff like that. And you can change the update interval, and also how often it checks for hunger and thirst status. So if you want to add a new money type, so let's say you want to add black money, which it gives you an example over here, so that you can have maybe some different jobs that give you black money, and then you'll have to take it and have it laundered. All you gotta do is add that line of code right there, and now you have a new money type called black money. Anytime you add a new money type, it's going to automatically add it to the database. So if you take this out at some point in time and decide you don't want black money, well, you're still going to have to remove it from the database. And on here, you want to put so that you can't get negative black money. You're going to type black money, and you're going to put these little quote marks here around it, and make sure it's typed exactly like that. There's no need for a comma after black money, because this is the end of the line. And also you can change the time that players get paid. So you can set it from 10 minutes, you can set it to 5 minutes, you can set it to 30 minutes, to a whole hour if you wanted to. So if you wanted to do an hour, it'd be 60. So let's say I wanted to change it to 15 minutes, every 15 minutes. And the amount of cash that players start with, let's say I'm going to give them $1,000 to start with and 10 grand in the bank to start with. And you can do the same thing with black money and crypto, but I think this is a good starting position for most players. And you can also adjust the hunger rate and the thirst rate. I wouldn't mess around too much with those numbers, but it's really entirely up to you. And also, if you scroll down here, you can set whether or not you want your server to be whitelisted, whether or not it's closed, and you can set, if you close it, you can set the reason that it's closed, and it will display that message whenever people try to join the server. PvP is enabled by default true, but you can disable it anytime you want, and especially the ability to shoot other players. You can add your Discord link here, and duplicate license, especially checking to see if people have the same copy of the game. So if somebody's on the same, maybe they're on two of the same computers using the same license for some reason, I don't know. This is where you'll set your groups at. So if you want to add more groups other than God, admin, and moderator, you can. And that's basically the gist of that right there. And I'm going to tell you how to go about getting your actual location. So if you want to change this default spawn location, and also there's another file that we're going to have to go in and change some other locations or add locations if we want to. So first you're going to go into the game, and then you're going to open up your admin menu just by typing in admin, and then we're going to go to developer options, and then we're just going to copy vector 4. So let's say we don't want this, so let's no clip here and find us a good location that we want players to spawn in. So let's say in the middle of the golf course. I'm not gonna spend all this time searching for a good spot. This will be their initial location. You're going to copy vector 4. You're going to move back here and you're going to paste it. Make sure everything looks correct. And if it does, you're just going to delete that. And you're going to select this whole portion right here. Make sure you select it exactly the same way I do. And then paste it. And it's going to overwrite your default spawn location. So anytime players join the game, this is where they're going to spawn at. Now this does not affect the customization menu, so it's not the same. It's basically where you initially spawn at when you join the game. And then we're going to save this, and now we're going to back out of this file, and we're going to go back into resources and QB, and we're going to look for, I believe, spawn. Now, if we click on config for this, this shows you the locations that you will be able to spawn whenever you reload into the game. So let's say you've already made a character and it loads up the spawn menu every time you join the game. This is what it's going to show you by default. So let's say you wanted to add a new location to the spawn list. Well, basically all you gotta do is copy one of these, and then we're going to go to the end of the line of code right here. We're going to press enter, and then enter again, and then paste. And let's just make it look better by lining it up the same way the rest of them are lined up. And we're just going to give it the name golf course, right? And now we're going to paste the same coordinates. We already have it copied. Or maybe we'll have to copy it again. Yeah, we're going to have to copy it again. We're going to copy these coordinates, vector 4. And then we're going to highlight this area here. Do not highlight the comma at the end. Just highlight what I'm highlighting, and then paste the new vector in. And now you can change the location name. And we're just going to name it golf course. Right, I'm going to keep it simple for these first two names here. So I'm going to actually overwrite that and make that golf course. Just keep it simple. And then this next one, we can make it look better. Golf course. going to save it and go back in here, and there in almost every one of these resource files is a README. So it basically tells you how to go about adding a new spawn. So how to add a new spawn location, and it shows you pretty much the same thing that I showed you. So this is just another thing that you can look at if you want to. And it also shows you what the dependencies are for this particular resources. So these are the resources that have to be loaded into the background for this particular resource to work properly. So that's what a dependency is. In order for that resource to work properly, it has to have these dependencies. Okay, so I'm going to X that out. Make sure we've saved the changes. Everything looks good. Make sure the code looks good. And it does, for the most part, yes. So now we're going to X this down, and we're going to back out of the game and restart the server. So I'm going to exit the game completely. And this tends to work best for me is just backing out of the game completely, because sometimes when you leave the game up and you reconnect, it causes issues. Exit the server out completely and then restart the server. Then we're going to start the game back up. Make sure the server is fully initialized. Ray Carter, and then yep, and there it is, the golf course. So now I can click golf course and I can confirm, and now I'm spawning in the golf course. So you can do that with as many different areas as you want. I'm just showing you how I would go about doing it. And basically I would just be in the game and teleport to all the different locations that you want, copy the vector 4, and then just paste in the vector into the config file itself. So I hope that helps you out, and I'm going to be talking about some more stuff on the next chapter. Hey there again. So in this chapter I'm going to go over boss management. So basically what that is you have different job types on the server that people can role play in, and I'm going to tell you how you can set up the actual boss menu for the people that's going to be the actual bosses of those roleplay types. So basically I'm not going to show you how to do every single boss menu, but I'm going to show you one, and from there you pretty much know how to do all of them. So you're going to start out back in your server folder, and you're going to go into QBcore resources, QB, and then we're going to look for management. And then we're going to click on client, and then we're going to go into config here. So this is the initial locations that QBcore gives you for your actual boss menu. So if you was wondering about where the hell do I go to open up my boss menus, well, this is where they're located at. So let's say I want to change this location. So we're going to go into the game. So I've already got it loaded up here. And we're just going to no clip, take a look around, decide where we want to put the boss menu for the police station. So we're at the police station now, and we're just going to walk in here and decide, well, what's a good spot to put the boss menu. Well, I think by default it's back here in this back corner. Another thing is you want to make sure that you're actually in the police job position right now. So what you want to do is you're going to open up your text menu here, and you're going to type in job. And there you are. So I'm in the job law enforcement right now, and I'm in the actual highest rank. And we're going to change the boss menu. Let's say we want it to be right here, right at the desk in the captain's room here. So now I'm going to open up my admin menu, and I'm going to go down to developer options and copy vector 4. Now I'm going to tab back to this file. And yeah, it says vector 3. Yeah, we can do vector 3 and make it easier. We'll copy vector 3. But it's essentially the same. The only real difference is that vector 4 has your heading as well. So now we're going to take and paste in the new vector and we're going to save it. Now in game, we're going to X out the admin menu. And what we're going to do is open up the chat menu and click restart, or type restart. And we're going to type QB and then dash management. It's going to restart the resource. So we don't even have to close the server down to do these edits. Now if I walk over here again, now it says open job management. So now I can actually go into my boss menu and manage my employees. See saved outfits. I can go into the storage. I can hire new employees and do the money management, which check to see how much money I have, and I can deposit money into the account straight from here. So if you're admin and you don't want to have to deal around with the actual database, then you would just give yourself a certain amount of money that you want to give the law enforcement, and you would just deposit it into the account for law enforcement. So there you go. That's how you get the boss menu set up for law enforcement. And it works the same way for every other job too. So you just got to make sure that you're in the job and make sure that you have the highest ranking title, that you're the boss of the job. Another thing that I'm going to show you is the zones. So you want to make sure that the zone is close to or the same as the actual spawn itself. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste a new position here, and I don't need to change any of this crap. I just want to make sure that the actual position is the same for the zone. Now let's say that you want to configure the gang. So let's say you want to add a place for the lost MC. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the game, and we're just going to fly off here and find us a good location for the lost MC. Okay, so let's say we want to have the lost MC at this warehouse here. And you can clearly tell it's here with this big no smoking sign. You got this big gate in front of it here. And we want to put the location right at these double doors. We just open your admin menu back up. And we'll go into developer and we'll copy vector 3. And then we'll tab out here and then we'll go back into our file and paste our vector 3 and make sure that you leave the comma there. Do not get rid of that comma, because if you do, it's going to end up messing up the whole script. It's going to throw out errors at you whenever you start your server up if you don't leave this comma here. So the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to have to go in and mark out these areas here. See right now, as it's marked out right now, all you gotta do is delete this and delete these at the end here. And now you want to add the gang name, lost MC, and you just want to make sure that the coordinates are the same. Copy, and I'm going to paste it right here. And then for the length and stuff, we're just going to copy what the police had, and we're going to paste it. Make sure you do it. Make sure it looks exactly the same as these lines up here. And make sure there ain't no commas out of place or anything like that, because if it looks any bit out of place, the script is going to throw out errors and it's not going to know what's going on. So it looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now I'm going to restart the script again. So I'm just going to restart QB management, press enter. So now you're going to add yourself to the gang itself. You're going to type in set gang. And you're going to type in your ID, which is 1 for me. And the gang is Lost MC. You make sure that you type it exactly the way that you've labeled it inside of the config. And I'm just going to put grade 4. And now I want to check and make sure that it's actually showing me inside of this gang. And it says no grades yet, so we're going to have to set up the actual grades for the gang itself. So we're going to go into QBcore shared and click on gangs. Okay, so the highest grade that we have for the Lost MC is 3. But if you wanted to add an even higher grade, you can. You would just remove this line here, or you could copy one of these and kind of just change this number to 4. So I could change this to 4, and then I'm going to copy this line here, and I'm going to press enter and then paste it there. Make sure it's lined up, and then I'm going to go through and redo the numbers, and this is now going to be 3, and I'm going to rename this grade to badass. So now you've added an extra rank to your actual Lost MC. So now you have a recruit, enforcer, shot caller, and a badass, and now you have the boss. So in order to give yourself that grade, in order for this to take effect, you're going to have to restart QBcore, which that's one of those things it's better just to restart the whole server at this point. But for right now, we're just going to change our grade to 3. That way it thinks that we're the original boss, because the original boss grade was 3. And now we have the gang management, and it's basically the same as boss management, and we can recruit gang members, and we can access the storage, our outfits, money management, all that good stuff. So in conclusion, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching the video, and this basically is just covering the pure bare bones basics of setting up a QBcore server. It is by no means very high detailed. I mean, you can find a lot of information everywhere else, but what I've found on YouTube is that everything is very fragmented. A lot of things are separated out into several different videos by several different creators, and it kind of makes things hard to follow. And I can understand that you don't want to look for every single thing, you know. So I tried to include as much as I could in this one video, but it was really being drawn out. And if you want to see a part 2, just make sure that you like and support my video and follow me, and also comment down below what you would like to see, what you'd actually like to know in part 2. If you want to see a part 2, just make sure you comment and let me know. But other than that, I really appreciate it, guys, and thank you so much. Take it easy.